introducing it all.
His Holiness, Paul Rosenberg, Dutch Public Television.
Right.
Thank you very much for agreeing to see us. It's a great honor.
Thank you. Oh, that's flower.
And that's flower. With the Tibetan scarf. Tulip from Holland, all the way from Amsterdam, via Delhi to Dharamshala.
Thank you.
Okay.
I threw
like
very,
it.
very hot climate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I want to put here. Thank you.
It's been almost a year since the Olympic Games in China. What have the Olympics brought the Tibetan people?
I think Olympic game brought more publicity. I think from the Chinese viewpoint, I think both positive and negative. And Tibetan side, at the Tibetan's viewpoint, I think more interest. I mean, more people develop more sort of serious interest.
Has the situation in Tibet become worse even after the Olympics?
Much worse now.
Much worse?
Much worse. Now, I think the whole Tibetan area actually is something like military occupation. Very clear.
You call it an occupation?
Oh, military occupation. Everywhere is military forces now there. Many people consider it is occupied land. Now, this is the question of, you see, the past history. It links past history. So my stand usually, past is past. If we really emphasize the importance of past history, then there are sort of big differences, big different views about Tibet history. The Tibetan version, Chinese version, and more Western scholars sort of version, different sort of views. We are always the emphasis, importance is future. Future is concerned political decision. Past history is not political decision. It's already happened. According present sort of political necessity, try to change past history. It's foolish. But some people do that. It's foolish. Like former Soviet Union also did that. But not much. And Chinese also, Chinese communist hardliners, they also, try to change past history according to their political necessity. It won't work. It doesn't matter. Past is past. So as far as future is concerned, we're fully committed. We are not seeking separation. Remain within the people of China. For our own interest, Tibet materially backward, and every Tibetan want modernized Tibet. So in that respect, therefore, you see, we are willing remain within the people of China, provided they give us meaningful autonomy, which is the guarantee for protection or safeguard of Tibetan unique cultural heritage and rich spirituality, and also the delicate environment issue like that.
You've long stopped advocating independence and you're talking about genuine autonomy. But there is a certain kind of autonomy now.
Oh.
There is the Tibetan
only
autonomous
on
region.
paper.
Only on paper?
Yes. Now, I think answer for that, please go there and in thorough investigation by yourself.
Well, it's impossible to go there for a journalist.
Why?
You know?
Why?
Well, we don't get a permit from the Chinese authority.
Oh, that is the reason.
That's the reason.
They do not want to see the reality.
But your proposal for autonomy is going very, very far. So not only on language and culture and religion, but also on economy, for migration, for security, for defense. Well, that's unacceptable for the Chinese, isn't it?
Defense, entirely up to Chinese government. Foreign affairs, entirely up to Chinese government. I always make clear, the defense, foreign affairs must take central government. Then education, culture, religion, environment, so on, those things which Tibetan can manage even better because of fuller knowledge about Tibetan culture.
So can you manage the economy and the migration and the security better than the Chinese? Because that's a part of your proposal as well.
The immigration, that is a certain number of Chinese, and preferably who respect Tibetan culture, who respect Tibetan Buddhism, and acceptable number, welcome. No problem.
But your proposal is not a first step to independence?
The Chinese always say that.
Yeah, that's the reason for my question.
If you are asking on behalf of Chinese, then I will say 100% no.
Definitely not.
Definitely.
Not now, not ever.
Never.
50 years ago, Tibet was a theocracy, ruled by monks. Do you want to return to a theocratic state?
Never. As soon as we came to India, we start work for democratization. Now, since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Since then, my position is something like semi-retired position.
Semi-retired.
So nobody, I think Tibetan, inside as well as outside, nobody is in dreaming restoration of old system. It's gone.
It's gone? Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
You're well known because of your non-violent struggle, and you developed the middle way approach. But the younger generation,
yes,
they are losing their patience.
Yeah, yes, it is understandable. For example, the youth organization, not only recent, but since many years ago, you see, their stand is complete independence.
And they started using violence as well.
No. Violence is concerned. Youth organization as a whole, they strictly follow non-violent principle. One or two, but Chinese accusation is something different.
This week you'll be traveling to the Netherlands. You've been received by European leaders like Sarkozy, Merkel, Brown. By whom would you like to be received in the Netherlands?
I have no idea. Except my visit to Washington or Brussels or Strasbourg. Sometimes I have some political agenda. Otherwise, now visit Hague or Amsterdam, you see, no political agenda.
No, well, but you have a political agenda, and there is a political debate whether the Prime Minister should receive you or not. And my question... yeah, that is the diplomatic answer. And now your personal opinion, please.
Nothing.
It's the first time that you don't have a personal opinion.
No, I don't want to create any inconvenience to anybody. I'm quite sure all leaders in free world, I think in deep in their mind, very sympathetic about our cause. That's quite sure.
That's sure. And you have a lot of sympathy, but you need a lot of political support, well, to achieve your goal in the end. So,
no, even meeting with the highest sort of leader, it won't solve immediately the Tibetan problem.
The director of the International Campaign for Tibet, she struggled for, well, receiving you by the Prime Minister. And she was really disappointed, more or less offended. How do you feel about that?
As I mentioned earlier, I do not want, firstly, my visit, non-political, and then secondly, I do not want to create any embarrassment, any inconvenience. But meantime, I very much appreciate those people who really make effort. If you see people refuse meeting me with the reason Dalai Lama consider troublemaker, then I feel sad. But otherwise, no problem.
No, but this is because of the Chinese pressure. How do you feel?
That's understandable.
Yeah.
That's understandable. Recently, my sort of proposed visit to participate sort of peace conference in Africa by a Nobel laureate, I received invitation. In fact, invitation come from name of 3 Nobel laureates: Nelson Mandela, Bishop Tutu, and former President de Klerk. But then finally, the South African government, because of Chinese pressure, you see, it is obviously Chinese pressure. So then they refused me my visa, like that.
Can the conflict be solved without mediation?
Now, firstly, the Chinese leaders must know things are not good as they state. I think the China, most populated nation, great nation, now must face the reality. That's important. Then China get more respect, more trust from rest of the world. If this kind of hypocritical sort of way, instead of sort of getting more respect or more trust, more suspicion. So it's their own sort of interest. And sort of, I say,
there is no dialogue between you and the Chinese, so you explain
No. Firstly, the Tibet issue is one part of the problem. The real problem. So long the Chinese sort of communist hardliners sort of present sort of way of thinking remain there, seems difficult. They simply deny the reality and they create their own sort of imagination.
Difficult or impossible to find?
That time we will answer. I don't know.
But you're the leader of the Tibetans.
Oh, I have no power to see future clearly. And meantime, I do not want to create any sort of speculation.
But
I do not want that.
But you have a lot.
If something definite, very clear, then accordingly I will tell you.
Okay.
If things are not very certain, and I do not want to pretend I know everything. I always mention myself as a simple Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
That means I must be very truthful, very honest. And I do not want, you see, to pretend I know everything. No use.
Have you ever considered to leave India and to find a secret route to go to China, to go to Tibet, and see what will happen?
Then, according to some information, there's some Chinese leaders, hardliners, they simply do not want me go there. That's the basic thing. So simply, you see, they want me die outside. So okay, no problem. But Tibetan nation won't die easily.
And where would you expect to die? Where would you expect in India or in Tibet?
Wherever I feel happy, at that place, I will die.
But that's an indirect answer for Tibet, because that is the place where you feel happy.
So that means, I think, exact answer. If Tibet becoming more free, and I feel happy there, then I will die there. If still Tibet remains without freedom, and India as a refugee, homeless, but full of freedom, then I will die here.
You stay optimistic. You're laughing a lot, even during this serious interview. But do you have ever any doubts?
Yes, basically, I'm not a politician. My daily life, 80% of my energy, my time spent on spiritual matter. I think this question, as it comes, as I think usual sort of those freedom struggles, freedom fighter, they simply, it's just political fight. I'm not that kind. I'm Buddhist monk. Think more about entire sentient being and think my existence something useful to benefit to other. No difference whether Tibetan, whether Chinese, whether Indian, whether European, whether African, whether Latin American. So these are, as I mentioned earlier, These two things.
That's right. That's completely right.
That's
But if
my
you-
main
Sorry.
main interest, or main commitment.
Sorry for interrupting you.
So now here,
Yeah.
I always just mention to my Indian friend, now last 50 years, I become homeless person. But homeless person found new happy home in this country.
Okay.
Complete freedom. And my personal personal interest is concerned, I'm satisfied.
But you're a leader of
Of
the
course.
Tibetan community as well. So you're the spiritual leader without any doubt. And the whole world consider you as more or less the political leader as well. And I know what your opinion is about political leadership, but you're struggling for a free Tibet, right? You're struggling for.
Well, what do you mean free?
Well, full autonomy.
Independence.
No. your proposal of genuine autonomy.
Oh, yes.
Right? But after 50 years, you're a leader with empty,
Look,
with,
Israel.
with empty hands. And
Palestine.
my question is,
Oh.
do you ever have a feeling of
Tibetan
disappointment?
issue, older than Tibetan issue, still not yet solved.
No.
There are many other issues. This is longer than 50 years.
You didn't realize a proper solution for the Tibetan case. Does it mean that you failed?
Fact is fact.
But
Reality is reality.
does it hurt you inside?
Oh?
Does it hurt you inside?
Oh, yes. I crying. Then okay, otherwise. What should say?
I don't know.
We are Buddhist. I'm Buddhist practitioner. We believe karma. If you fully committed about full causes and conditions, there is no point to avoid. I believe that. At the same time, we are human beings. We have a human spirit. Must carry struggle as much as you can. Whether achieve or not depend on many other factors. Simple. I should be realistic. No problem. A Buddhist monk, Buddhist practitioner, there are much greater objective, greater goals, Buddhahood, and service to sentient being. These are bigger issues than Tibetan issue. Me personally, I'm Buddhist monk. I'm Buddhist practitioner. Whether you understand or not, these are facts.
I try to understand.
Oh, then okay.
I try to understand. But on the other hand, exactly because you said, well, I'm a human being as well.
Perhaps if I'm another freedom fighter who have no this kind of spiritual practice, then may take suicide. But I have no such danger because of my spiritual practice.
But to a certain extent, you are a freedom fighter.
Yes. Just one person.
And you didn't achieve freedom
Oh?
for your community.
Not yet.
And my question is, you're a leader with empty hands.
Yeah?
To what extent does it hurt you inside?
Why?
Because you didn't achieve one of your goals.
I don't think you should not empty hand. Yes, for example, weapon. Now, empty hand. We prefer that. But as far as our real strength come from truth, justice. So, long run, force of truth, justice is more stronger than weapon. That I believe.
And you have all over the world a lot of sympathy, but maybe a lack of political support to achieve your goal.
The world, of course, naturally have to accept reality. People's Republic of China is a very important nation, economically, particularly in this moment, global economic crisis happened. China, one of the important members. These are reality.
Okay, there is the economic crisis. But on the other hand, China is still booming, has become very, very important. And the strategy of the Chinese seems to be very simple. They wait till you die, and then the Tibetan issue is over for them. How do you feel about that?
That's wrong. Of course, wrong. When I die, for temporary setback, definitely come, but Tibetan spirit won't die. That's quite true. Several thousand years history and rich cultural heritage and Tibetan spirit, not just emotion, but based on value, truth, honesty, transparent. Long run, these are much more weight than just propaganda and hypocrisy and rule of terror. Short. It cannot remain forever.
Would it be possible for 6 million people, Tibetans, Buddhists, to find a proper solution for this conflict with 1.3 billion Chinese, a very strong country and party?
Our conflict, not with over billion Chinese.
Okay. With the government.
Since last year, I made publicly my faith towards Chinese government, dominated by hardliner. My faith thinner. But my faith to the Chinese people never shaken. No, okay, I think now.
Thank you very much.
Now, if you repeat 1,000 times, my answer just 1,000 times, same way.
I would like to thank you very much, and a pleasant stay in the Netherlands.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.